Welcome back, everybody. So week 4 just wrapped up. I want to recap that game, recap all the games for this last week, and then make my picks for next week. Overall, I'm still just barely missing my bets, but that's a separate topic. But just aside, I went 13-3 this week. Brown went 13-3 this week. El Jefe went 10-6. Overall records, I have them right here. I write them down. So now for the season. Brown is in the lead. He's 41-23, which is really good. And me and Jeff are both tied at 37-27 apiece. So overall, we're all doing good as far as not losing more games than we're winning as far as our picks. But yeah, this week was it was fun. Although I will say that my sleep pattern was a little jacked up. And on Sunday when I was trying to watch the games, I woke up at like 5:30 p.m. my time Saturday. So for college football, just my sleep pattern was jacked up. And then, so I stayed up to watch the Sunday morning game, the London game, Jags and Falcons. And then I made it like an hour into the noon games. And then I just passed out. And then I think I was asleep for about 4 hours. And then I woke up again and started recapping. Thankfully for me, with YouTube TV, I'm able to, not this is a promo for them, but I'm able to just, catch up and everything like that, and I didn't have anything spoiled to me, so that was nice. I did not check my fantasy updates or anything like that. But anyway, so on to tonight's game. We had Seahawks and Giants. Now, people are going to make this out like this is all Daniel Jones' fault, and while he did not play good at all, he was under pressure every single play. That offensive line, Sean O'Hara was on the Manning cast. He talked about that they have like literally all inexperienced guys in that line because Andrew Thomas is out, and then Evan Neal's playing, which I was high on Evan Neal when he was coming out a couple years ago, and now it just looks like he's just, I wouldn't say a complete bust. A guy like that, surely, maybe someone could get him right, but he doesn't look to be the perennial tackle that can make Pro Bowls like they drafted him to be. So yeah, it's tough, and I just don't think he had any time tonight, and that's why they lost. Honestly, they were driving, and it was I think it was 14-3, and so if the Giants score there for a touchdown, it would have been 14-10 or 14-11, depending if they go for a 2-point, which they might have, but then you get your close game. But because Daniel Jones threw that pick six, it's a 14-point swing, basically, and Seattle goes up 21-3, and at that point, you're like, well, Giants aren't moving the ball well enough to be able to catch up, so people are going to make this out like this was a colossal ass kicking, and it really wasn't. It was, don't get me wrong, Seattle was flustering the Giants the whole time, but it's not like Seattle was just like doing amazing on offense. Geno got dinged up. Looks like his ankle got rolled up on. He returned to the game in the second half. Drew Lock had to come in for a little bit. He looked okay. For Geno, the fortunate thing, so we got 4 teams coming up that'll be on the bye in week 5. The Browns have Myles Garrett that was in a walking boot at the end of the game, so it's good that he gets an extra week. Deshaun Watson couldn't even play with his shoulder injury. He gets another week to rest up. Tampa Bay has Mike Evans with a hamstring injury, and I might be missing somebody else, but they get an extra week to rest him up. I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, so I don't know if I know hamstrings can literally just keep bothering you throughout a whole season and throughout your whole career, but an extra week couldn't hurt. And then the Chargers, Justin Herbert, his hand got jacked up, his non-throwing hand. Hopefully he gets another week to rest that up and heal that. And then, and then we get the Seahawks, which, like I said, Geno got dinged up. I don't know if they had any. Oh, Jamal Adams, he had a concussion. So very nice, at least. It's never nice for a player to get an injury, but it's at least nice that all these teams that had specific injuries that are important get an extra week to heal. So that's good. And a lot of people have made complaints about the NFL having bye weeks as early as week 4. Looks like they switched that up at least this year because that's happened in the past. I want to say week 4 is when it starts. This year, week 5 is the earliest, so that at least makes a little more sense. But yeah, that's nice. Anyway, all right. So yeah, Seahawks, Giants. If I'm the Seahawks, you won. Great. You're 3-1. All good. Like I said, you get an extra week to heal up your guys. If you're the Giants, like I said, yes, you played bad. Your offensive line was bad. Hopefully, I don't know how long Andrew Thomas is out. Hopefully, he could come back. I know it's going to get tough for them with their schedule, but I still think they have weapons. Like, I'm not a big Darren Waller guy because I think he's always hurt and I think he's overrated, but their receivers, I actually like Hodgins and Jalen Hyatt. Like, I don't hate those guys. I think those guys are solid receivers. And Saquon, if he can come back next week, give them more of a run presence, which they didn't really have. Because Daniel Jones had to run for everything tonight. And like I said, I know the pick six that he threw was bad. And I think he threw another pick. Yeah, he was under pressure, threw another pick. But yeah, he was under pressure all night. And at some point, he's just like, screw it, I got to try to make a play because this ain't working. All right, so let's go back. I was trying to do screen capture to show you guys because I want to do a mock draft at the end. But that was I'm having difficulties with that, being able to show my screen. So anyway, the Thursday night game was Packers-Lions this last week. I called that one right. I picked the Lions. Oh, and by the way, I had the Giants tonight. That didn't work out. But yeah, the Lions, they did an overall good job. Jared Goff threw an early interception. He was able to rebound from that. Basically, my takeaway from the game was Jordan Love had some moments that he looked okay, but he was not the steady presence as the Lions were. Because honestly, their weapons are kind of the same, except for Sam Laporta. Yeah, he really is starting to look like a up-and-coming, like, really good tight end in the league. Like someone mentioned that he could be one of the next, maybe not Kelsey, because Kelsey's on his way to the Hall of Fame. Kittle, people say he's on the way to the Hall of Fame. His potential was to be a Hall of Famer, but I don't think at this point his stats merit a guy that makes it to the Hall of Fame. That's me personally. Kittle's very good, but they hardly ever give him the ball. He's mainly just used as a blocker and as a decoy threat. But anyway, Sam Laporta looks good. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been solid for them at least like the last 2 years. And then Jameson Williams is coming back this upcoming week. We'll get to that, but Roger Goodell adjusted the schedule or the penalties, and I think it was obviously voted on. I don't think Roger Goodell is the only person that has say on this, but the penalties for betting on an NFL game, they tweaked it, and I'm pretty sure I like the tweak. I don't remember the exact details, but basically what I thought they did was anyone that bet on a game or did something on a game that was not their own team gets reduced, where, you know, like that's, if you're not betting on your own team, then yes, you're going to still face a penalty because you're an NFL player and they don't want you betting on NFL games, but it's not going to be as severe as if you're bet, because yeah, that's the main thing they don't want, is they don't want someone that's betting to go, hey, we're favored and I'm just going to play like complete crap today so I can, you know, win a lot of money. They just don't want that. So, and then the other thing is if you're caught betting on another sport, but it's at your team's facility, you're not allowed to do that. So I think they reduced the penalty for that as well. I think what they did is instead of doing one strict, crucial punishment, they just separated it where first time offense you get this, second time offense you get this, third time offense I think you can be suspended for like 2 years. So Jameson Williams' suspension got reduced. He should be back this upcoming week. Like I said, we'll get to that. But yeah, I thought the Lions overall played solid. Their defensive line, not just Aiden Hutchinson, I forgot the other guy's name. They have a D tackle that was playing really well as well. And yeah, the Lions, they look solid. I mean, I had them making the NFC Championship game this year, and through 4 games, I would say they're on track to at least be in that mix. Obviously, everyone's going to pick the 49ers and Eagles again. I just don't think it's always going to be that simple. But yeah, Lions look good. If you're the Packers, like Jordan Love, I think I've seen enough where now I can go, he's worth trying to continue this and build upon. But like, it's how patient you're going to be, because think about it. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. Aaron Rodgers had a bad first season. I mean, it was necessary, but I think he was 5-11 his first season. And then the second year in 2009 of him starting, I don't remember if they made it. Yeah, I think they made it to the playoffs, and I think they lost to the Cardinals, if I remember correctly. And then in 2010, his third year starting, that's when they went on to win the Super Bowl. They were a wildcard team, but they won. So I'm thinking you're kind of in that timeline, not to win a Super Bowl. It's ridiculous to expect your guy to win a Super Bowl his third year starting. It's just crazy. But expect playoffs, basically. If Jordan Love's not making it to the playoffs, I think by next year, they'll be like, okay, that was his 5th year. Then the Packers are going to start to go, okay, what do we need to build the roster more, or is he just not the right guy? But I'm intrigued on Jordan Love. I'd like to see more from him. Yeah, like I said, and from the Lions' perspective, you did what you were supposed to do. I think they're the class of that division. But okay, now let's move on. So the London game, we had the Falcons and Jaguars. Let me try to move that. All right, we had the Falcons and Jaguars. Jaguars are more comfortable with being in London. I mean, just straight up, they're there quite often. So, but yeah, overall, I thought the game, I mean, the Falcons, it's just basically Desmond Ridder played like crap. I mean, he's just not a good quarterback. I mean, so the difference of like Jordan Love and Desmond Ridder. Jordan Love's only won 2 games in his career. Desmond Ridder's won 4. He's 4-4 as a starter. But Desmond Ridder, I've not felt he's never once been the reason why they won. In my opinion, it's always been the team around him, the running game. The defense might have stepped up, just the competition that you were playing. So the Falcons, to me, them or the Commanders are like the number one team in the offseason that I was like, why aren't you trying to get somebody to bring in as competition? Yeah, you let Marcus Mariota go, that's fine. But I know they wanted to see what Desmond Ridder had, but he's showing you he doesn't have a whole lot. He threw 2 terrible interceptions. One was a pick 6. And the Jaguars didn't have to do much. They had the 1 touchdown to Calvin Ridley, and that was pretty much, I feel like, all they needed. And then the defensive touchdown, and then after that, they've outscored the Falcons at that point. Trevor Lawrence looked good. Yeah, I don't know. That game, I will say this about Wembley Stadium. It is nice, like nice lighting. I think it's actually perfect lighting for an NFL game because it looks like it's getting outside light because the sunshine, obviously. But it's not this, like, you don't have the sun blinding anybody. It's just the light. It lightens everything up, and it's more natural lighting, and it looks good on TV. Like, looks great. But the sun's never going to be in anyone's eyes. You don't get that glare. So that was really nice. And yeah, I wish other NFL stadiums could really do that. I don't think any of them have achieved that. Maybe the Vikings, but I don't think they have either. I think most NFL stadiums are either, if they do have glass windows, the sun directly shines in, and then you get, like, you can blind people if they're on the opposite side of the field. But yeah, I don't think any NFL stadium off the top of my head has mastered the natural lighting, because a lot of them just use the dome lighting or whatever. But anyway, side point, Jaguars, you're 2-2, you rebounded, you beat a team you're supposed to beat, good for you. The Falcons just shows major questions of, like, the rest of your roster's not bad, but you are just wasting Kyle Pitts and Drake London's talent by having Desmond Ridder as your starter. I know you only saw him for 4 games this year, but I thought that draft pick was kind of a waste last year when they did that, because they were like, we need to draft a quarterback. Why waste the draft pick on a guy that you are confident is not even, like, he's not special. You knew he wasn't special when you drafted him, so your question was, well, can he at least be a viable starter? And my thing is, you've seen, it's not he doesn't understand how to play quarterback. It's just that he is limited on, like, everything. And on top of that, he's also struggling to play quarterback. But he doesn't have any special gifts. Like, Kirk Cousins coming out, you could at least be like, the guy knows how to play quarterback, and he, can run an offense really well, and you want to say be a game manager. Their question was, how special is he? Kirk Cousins has proved he's not a special quarterback, but he's a guy that can get the job done. If you surround him with enough talent, you'll be able to win games. All right, so moving on from this game, we had the first noon game, Dolphins-Bills. Called this one right. I had the Bills. By the way, I also got the Jaguars right. I guess I don't need to do this with everyone, but for the Bills, this was kind of the ass kicking that I thought was what they were capable of, because everyone was acting like the Miami Dolphins had the best offense in the league, and points wise maybe, but it's like Buffalo has a tremendous offense as well, with just Josh Allen's Diggs connection, Gabe Davis. They got 2 tight ends now that are good. And and then that defense kind of showed what they were made of. And yeah, if you get pressure on with anyone, if you get pressure on a quarterback and they're not that mobile, and they're not great at throwing on the run, you can do a lot of damage. That's what the Bills did. And basically their defense was the difference, because Miami's defense didn't stop Buffalo at all, but Buffalo's defense stopped Miami at least enough to slow them down and to be able to take possession of the game. So this is just a pump the brakes thing with the Dolphins, that everyone sees the 70 points and they're like, oh my gosh. And it's like, relax. They did not beat any perennial powerhouse in their last 3 games. They beat the Chargers in week 1. When was the last time the Chargers won a playoff game? Been a long time. 2018, I think. The Lamar year is the last time they won a playoff game. And obviously that was, age ago as far as sports years, NFL years. Okay, then they beat week 2. They beat the Patriots. We all respect the Patriots as a decent defense. That's why they were able to hold them down. But the Patriots, when was the last time they won a playoff game? Their Super Bowl against the Rams, I believe, was the last time. And then the Broncos. The Broncos, they haven't even made the playoffs since like 2015, their Super Bowl year. So the 3 victories that they got, I'm not saying they're all scrub teams. I mean, the Broncos are, pretty low right now, but everyone just needs to relax and chill And the Dolphins, if they're that good, they'll prove it over the season. For me personally, I was not high on the Dolphins this year, mainly because I was not confident that Tua could stay healthy. Now he's looked great this year, and I won't deny that. I just think they're scheduled like teams like the Bills. They're going to get more teams like this on their schedule, and I don't think it's just going to be a walk in the park like it's been. For the Bills, this is a good, like, hey, we just proved to everybody again, like people were ready to shove us aside and be like, no, we're not going to win the division. And they just proved to everyone, no, we're still here. And as of right now, as it stands, I think the Bills, they're looking like they're headed back to the AFC Championship game with the way they're playing. All right, on to the next one. We had Broncos at Bears. So this was the race for the number one pick. Obviously, the team that wins, they put themselves a little far out of that. I picked the Broncos for this one. I just didn't see Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. They knew that if this doesn't work, one of them is not going to make it through the season. I felt like because you lose the locker room at that point. So the Bears were up like 28-7. Justin Fields is playing really good. The Broncos storm back, and I just want everyone to point out. I just remember this moment. Russell Wilson, while he's not playing like MVP level, or he's not playing even like how he was in his prime in Seattle. He's not the reason why they're losing. He's like, if you look at his stats every week, it's like he's playing fine. It's good enough to win. That defense is giving up too many easy plays. Vance Joseph, I don't understand I don't get why he keeps getting opportunities. Maybe because he's cheap, he doesn't cost somebody a lot of money, but he's not a good defensive coordinator. At any point in his career that he's been defensive coordinator, I don't think that defense ever was good. I know he was with, I want to say he was with Miami last year. I don't think they were good. I think he was with Arizona the year before. I don't think they were good. He's not a good defensive coordinator. Anyway, so if I'm the Bears, the bright side is, one, you were competitive. You almost won the game, and I know you don't want to do moral victories because it's not a moral victory, but at least you showed life and showed promise. And on top of that, you are now slated, and we'll get to the Panthers, but you are slated to have the top 2 picks in the draft. Now, I don't ever want the players or the coaches to think about that stuff. I want them to literally just focus on trying to win. But if you're the organization, if I'm Ryan Poles, why would I change course in the season? Like I said, I have to be pragmatic and look at it from a non-emotional standpoint. Yes, I want to surround my players with pieces to win, but I also have to set myself up for the future. And yeah, they are set up for the future right now with the top 2 picks, and we'll get to it. But as of right now, it's looking like Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. You get that combo. You still have DJ Moore. That's the makings, and you had Darnell Wright, the tackle that you drafted. That's the makings of a good offensive core that you can build around. Do I think that Eberflus is the guy? No. Do I think Justin Fields is the guy? I think Justin Fields should sit and be a backup and learn from a winning organization how to actually play quarterback. And I think his comp, as far as what he would like to become, is more like Jalen Hurts. A quarterback that can run, but works on his passing and can be dynamic passing. Justin Fields, it's not that he doesn't have I wouldn't say like he doesn't have like a cannon of an arm. Like he's not like gifted like that. But he's got a big enough arm where he can get the ball where he needs to, and he worked on his accuracy, and now he's become a pretty accurate quarterback. So yeah, that would be my move is in the offseason. If you're going to draft Caleb Williams, I would reach out to the Eagles and go, hey, I know you guys have Marcus Mariota as your backup. He looked like crap in the preseason. He's getting older. Would you guys be interested in Justin Fields? If it's not the Eagles as far as a mentorship thing, I could see, teams like let's say the Falcons. I could see the Falcons going, hey, we still have Desmond Ridder. He's not very good. Let's take a shot on Justin Fields, maybe trade a couple third-round picks or something. I don't know what the Bears would be asking for that. I would say like maybe a third and a fourth for Justin Fields because of his he hasn't shown a whole lot. So if you're Atlanta, if you're not going to be drafting high, which as of right now, they're kind of in the middle of the pack, then yeah, you got to take shots at quarterbacks in other places. And the thing is, you could get a veteran, but do you want a veteran that you're pretty sure you're still not going to win the Super Bowl, but you like treating them like they could? Or do you want to draft a guy that you're like, he has potential to be special, we just need to build around him? Justin Fields in Atlanta, that would, and I heard some rumblings in the offseason, that to me would make some sense. I still would probably try to get a more proven guy, but I could kind of see the ideology behind that. But yeah, all right, let's move on. But for Denver, I'm a Chiefs fan. I don't root for the Broncos, but at the same time, guys like Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, I don't want them to be out of the league because I think the league is better with quality guys. I think Russell Wilson is a quality quarterback, no matter what other people say. And I think Sean Payton is a really good coach. So for me, it's like their offensive line, their running game sucks. Their offensive line's not good. Those are two of the big things of why they struggle on offense. They could probably use another receiver that can stay healthy. They could probably use a dynamic tight end. And then defensively, they need a lot of help, a lot more help than we thought. And just real quick for Chicago, with the Chase Claypool situation, I keep hearing from many people that why don't they just cut Chase Claypool? Look, if you want to keep him and be like, hey, he's not coming back to the team because he's too toxic, I guess, fine. That's your prerogative. I would just say, like, trade him, and I don't remember what they said they were trying to get. Try to get a 6th-round pick. If you can't get that, try to get a 7th-round pick because that's one more pick than you would get if you just cut him. Surely you can get a 7th-round pick for a guy that clearly what people see when he plays, he has talent. He may be not good in the locker room, but me as a Chiefs fan, I'm like, we got all these midgets as wide receivers and guys that are basically never going to be a number one in their life. If the Bears are going, hey, we want a 6th or 7th-round pick. Let's say they want a 6th-round pick for Justin Fields. Or for Chase Claypool. I'd do it. I do it right now. And then you bring in Justin Fields, or you bring in Chase Claypool, and you go, hey, we obviously have a winning culture. We just won the Super Bowl last year. We've won 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. We don't need you. We want you, but we don't need you. So if this doesn't work, if it can't work with us, you're probably not getting another opportunity. So it's up to you. Do you want to play in the league or not? And that's pretty motivating for a guy. So, and if he gets cut, obviously, I think he'll have suitors. I mean, he's not Antonio Brown, where I think he's a locker room cancer, where the guy is so selfish. I just think he's frustrated because the team's not winning, and he's not getting the ball because Justin Fields is struggling. And I think that's where his frustration comes from, and I just don't think, as of right now, he has a healthy way of expressing it or just bottling it up and going, hey, I'm a professional, I'm not going to say that stuff. I think he's just acting unprofessional. I think he's overall a really talented receiver. Is he a true number one at some point? Probably not, but I think he's a solid number 2 at his peak, and that's when I say solid number 2, Chase Claypool is a guy that if Mahomes threw him up a ball, he could not moss somebody, you could say, but he's big enough where he could go up and get a ball, which right now we don't have any receiver. Like Kelsey, but Kelsey's like 34. He's losing some of his athleticism. You could tell that injury slowed him down. He does not have the same speed so far since he's come back. Last week was the closest I saw where it felt like it was him again, but this week was not so much. But maybe you could say that was the Jets defense. Okay. Moving on to the next game. What do we got? Ravens at Browns. So this was a butt kicking, 28-3, but at the same time, you can't really blame the Browns because they had the DTR as their backup having to start, which I bet this game, and I picked the Ravens, and this was before I knew Deshaun Watson couldn't play. I still thought the Ravens were better, but this just shows that backup was not able to actually produce in the offense. It's why backup quarterbacks, it gets slept on, where every one of these teams just goes, we'll just fill it in with some young guy that, whatever, it'll work out. It doesn't work out. You do need a backup quarterback that actually knows how to play the position and won't get scared in the moment. And yeah, the Ravens just throttled him. Lamar looked really good. Had a dime of a touchdown to Mark Andrews. Had 2 rushing touchdowns. Ravens keep rolling. And like I said, I don't think if the Bengals can get healthy with Joe Burrow, then I could be like, okay, the Ravens have something to worry about in the North. But until that happens, the Steelers can't figure out how to score, which we'll get to them. And Cleveland, I just think like Deshaun Watson, he had one good week, then you get banged up. Nick Chubb's out. They have a lot of obstacles in their way. I don't hate Cleveland. Like, I don't dislike the Browns at all. It'd be nice to see them be back to being a playoff contender again. But I just think we got to deal with the reality of, I think there's just 2 better teams in their division. The Bengals aren't playing like it right now, but I'm saying the Bengals' ceiling with Joe Burrow is higher than what the Browns can be, in my opinion. But, Ravens took care of business. Cleveland, this definitely shows you that you got a long way to go if you think that one of your backups can come in and play. People act like these games aren't important, just throw it away, and they go, their quarterback wasn't in, so that's you just chalk it up to that. There's still a lot of things that your defense could have done better that they did not do. And on top of that, like I said, if your backup gets you 3 points in the game, then that's a sign to you that either he's not ready, needs more reps, or he's not that guy. And Deshaun Watson, he's not exactly a spring chicken anymore. He's dealt with some injuries in his career. If I'm Cleveland, I would try to get a more suitable backup. Carson Wentz is on the market, and I know Carson Wentz doesn't want to be a backup, but he's probably one of the top free agents you could get, in my opinion. But anyway, All right, moving on. We had the Bengals at the Titans. So this is the one I got wrong. I mean, I got 3 picks wrong. This is one that I got wrong, and I bet on the Bengals. I was really close to hitting a parlay that would have won me like $3,000, but anyway. Yeah, so the Titans, they took care of business at home. They rolled them. And my whole thinking coming into the game was the Bengals, even though they didn't look amazing on Monday night against the Rams, I was like, I saw enough offensively that I was like, all right, their defense looks good. And Tennessee hadn't been doing anything on offense the first couple games, really. I mean, against the Chargers they did, but everybody else, they didn't look like a life. They didn't look like their offense had a lot of juice. So coming into this, I was like, well, we just saw the edge rushers of the Bengals against the Rams, and they were dominant. And I was like, Tennessee has been struggling to block up front. So I was like, yeah, I think the Bengals could get to them. And obviously, if Joe Burrow can get back and get a little healthier each week, I was like, yeah, I could see the Bengals winning this game. And man, they just complete opposite. Derrick Henry couldn't be stopped. He was rushing everywhere. And then I think he even had a passing touchdown, or maybe they had a different guy throw a passing touchdown. But yeah, the Titans, I was high on the Titans this year. I thought they would win their division. And I think I had them as the 3rd seed overall, which, it is what it is. But obviously I'm also high on the Bengals with Joe Burrow. So push comes to shove, I just was like, well, I'm going to go with the pedigree of the Bengals. And that didn't play out. So this is just the stuff that always can happen. And yeah, the Titans are one of those teams that I don't know. This was really on their schedule. This was the only team that I thought like they were definitely inferior to. And obviously that proved not to be the case. So the Titans are just a weird team in general. The Bengals, I've heard people talk about the fact that they need to bench Burrow for his own health and let him sit and try to get healthier. Yeah, I just mentioned Carson Wentz. Can you not bring in a Carson Wentz? Because right now their backups have no chance. Can you not bring in a Carson Wentz, say, hey, you're going to be a starter for the time being. We're going to let Joe rest to be healthy. And by like week 11, maybe, week 10, week 11, if Burrow was feeling better, maybe he could come back and take over. But until then, you're in a 1-3 hole, and I don't see it getting any easier. I mean, Tennessee was maybe one of the harder teams they could have faced, but yeah. Tough situation. And yeah, it's like you don't want to just throw your season away, and I get it, you're only 1-3, but your offenses look terrible, and if Burrow needs to rest to even have a chance, because that's the thing, if you guys don't have Joe Burrow, you're not going to win a Super Bowl anyway, and if that's your goal, I think you should rest him. Just try to come up with a better alternative. I don't even know who their backup is, but I don't think it's anybody any good. All right, on to the next one. So we had the Rams at the Colts. This game went into overtime. So I'm high on the Rams this year. I had them as my Super Bowl representative in the NFC. I knew they had a lot of draft picks, a lot of young guys. And contrary to popular belief, people talk about in the NBA, even though you want young talent, it's really the old veterans that generally win in the end because they're more experienced in playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And that's true. And in the NFL, I would say you want your quarterback to be like older quarterbacks win as far as being savvy and, being knowledgeable. But I would say the rest of your roster, yeah, you want some veterans here and there, but it is a young man's game. It is like your body. It's mainly because of how physical football is. Your body just recovers faster and heals better when you're a younger player. So yeah, younger teams generally, I think, do better. So with all the young talent, I was like, well, they have the veterans at the important pieces. They have obviously future Hall of Famer and Aaron Donald anchoring your defensive line, being the defensive leader. And then you have on offense, you have Matthew Stafford, who for my money is the best NFC quarterback. Jalen Hurts had a better year last year. All that's true, but for my money, if you're asking, push comes to shove, one game, I'm trying to win the Super Bowl with one guy. Matthew Stafford, the NFC, I think is more talented and better from a quarterback perspective than any of the guys. He has a more talented arm than any guy in the NFC. I don't care what you say. Yes, he doesn't have the running ability of Jalen Hurts, but I'll take Stafford. Stafford's just got to stay healthy, but. And then the Colts, Anthony Richardson came back. This was a fun game. Rams were up 23-0, and then the Colts were able to come back off 3 touchdowns and then some 2-point conversions. The Rams, I'm just interested to see what they look like when Cooper Kupp comes back. I think they'll be a lot better, higher scoring. They do need to shore up their offensive line whenever they can in the offseason. I doubt they're going to do it in the trade deadline. But yeah, this was a game I think they needed to win because if you want your season to continue and have some hope, you need to beat teams like the Colts. For the Colts, you're competitive, which is nice to see. It's nice to see that you're not lifeless on offense. So I think everyone with the Colts is having a good time with the season and just seeing what happens. All right, moving on. We had the Buccaneers at Saints. I got this one right. I was high on the Bucs all year. Not like high where I thought they were going to like do damage in the playoffs, but I had them winning that division. Everyone was like, "Oh man, you're crazy. Bucs, they're going to be tanking for, Caleb Williams." I'm like, "No, they're not. Their defense is too talented. Their offense even has too much talent. That team is not really capable unless you told everyone, "Hey, you're not getting your game checks unless you like purposely try to lose." If you let those guys just go out and play, they're going to win a lot of games. They are talented. Last year, the reason why they only finished 8-9 is because, one, offensive line was having issues. They could not run the ball. And since everyone knew they could not run the ball, everyone just pressured Brady, and Brady's not that mobile. And, they did the best with what they could. But, yeah, they were 8-9. This year, Baker's got more mobility. I just think it's new juice to the team. Honestly, I really do. I just think that's what it is. And you could say the South is maybe even weaker than it was last year. So, I'm not high on Derek Carr, and people just anointed him as he was the best quarterback in this division. And I'm like, no, I'll take Baker. I'll take Baker over Derek Carr any day. I don't see Baker. Baker's made mistakes for sure, but Derek Carr throws off his tippy toes. When was the last time you saw Derek Carr have like a dominant game? I don't remember. I mean, it's very rare to me, in my opinion. So, yeah, Derek Carr played banged up. He was a game-time decision if he was even going to play. He shows up. They get 9 points. In my opinion, Derek Carr, it was one of those things where they go, "Derek, do you think you can go?" And he just sucked it up. He was like, "Yeah, I can go." But in the end, I think that hurt his team. It's like the things that Brett Favre used to do, and I love Brett Favre, but Brett Favre used to play, and there were games where you definitely can go, "Brett, you really hindered us because you couldn't play like your normal self." And that I think that's what it was with Derek Carr. But yeah, Tampa looked good. Mike Evans, like I said, he got a hamstring injury. Hopefully within the bye week that can heal up a little bit. But yeah, Tampa's 3-1. I think, honestly, they're even more ahead than I thought they would be at this point, but because I had them beating New Orleans. I had them losing to Minnesota in the first game, and then I'm trying to remember who else they've played. Philly, I had them losing to, so I think that was the loss. So, yeah, I had them, at least getting 2 losses in the first couple of weeks, but, yeah, Tampa's, and then they beat Chicago. But, yeah, Tampa's look good. Do I see them? I see them just being the 4 seed, honestly, and, it'd be nice just, even if they don't win a playoff game, because most likely they're facing Dallas in the first round, even if they don't win a playoff game, it's still nice that if Baker could lead a team to the playoffs, people could start giving him some credit and going, hey, maybe he isn't just a backup, or maybe he shouldn't retire, like some people have said. I don't think that. I think Baker is a starting caliber quarterback. Like I said, is he elite? No. He's in the middle of the pack, in my opinion. He has good games and he's got bad games. But he plays decent enough on a consistent basis where I think, he should be put ahead of a lot of these other guys that are just not as good. But, I don't think the Bucs need to draft a quarterback. If it all works out in the draft where a guy's just sitting there and you like him, sure. But I wouldn't reach for a quarterback. This roster still needs more support. You still need more help on the offensive line. You need a dynamic running back, in my opinion, to help out your running game. Probably going to need a wide receiver or two because Mike Evans probably is gone after the season. Chris Godwin's getting a little older. Tight end, I don't think you have anybody special that I can think of. And then that defense, you have some older guys, but for the most part, you got a lot of youth on that defense. But some pieces here and there. But Tampa's defense is too good that I just don't think it's worth selling off all your parts just to tank. I don't see that. I think it's more realistic and viable to rebuild your roster and try to see what you got. And like I said, if Baker turns out where he's a cheap, good quarterback for them, then you can build the rest of your roster. And if a quarterback ever presents itself, hey, you got a great opportunity, like what happened 3 years ago with Brady. All right. And for the Saints, I had them, I think, going 8-9 before the season started. I think that's what my pick was. And I had them losing games like this, and people just penciled them in. And guys like, and I like Chris Broussard, but he had the Saints as a Super Bowl team. Keyshawn Johnson had the Saints as a Super Bowl team. I know his is biased because he's like Michael Thomas's uncle, I guess, but it's just realistically the Saints, they have nice pieces, but it's that quarterback position they can never figure out since Breeze retired. All right. Okay, so we had the Commanders and the Eagles. That game went to overtime. The Commanders have shown a lot of fight, and I guess this is credit to Ron Rivera that he's getting that roster to actually believe. Do I think Sam Howell is actually good? I still don't. I'm sorry, I need to see him win more games, and he's not. With the Eagles, to me, this only kind of shows what I've kind of been saying about them, which is they can play at like I don't know, what do you want to say, 70% of their potential and still win games that you could be like, they should have lost, but they didn't. But yeah, it was a close game. It was a fun game. But the Eagles got their touchdown in overtime when they needed to. And I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this. I'm not sold on the Commanders like some people. I mean, right now, if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be the 7th seed, I believe. But I think it's just going to get tougher for them because they the Eagles, I think that was their first division game so far this year. And it's only going to get tougher for you, in my opinion. But yeah, for the Eagles, keep on winning. However you can win, keep on winning. All right, next game, we had Vikings at Panthers. So this was an interesting one. 2 other 0-3 teams going into this. I picked the Vikings. The Vikings won. They had a defensive touchdown off a fumble off Bryce Young, and then there was a Justin Jefferson touchdown from Kirk. Kirk did throw a pick 6 to start the game. Here's my thing. I think the Panthers, they were up 10-0, so they had a 10-0 cushion, and Bryce Young still... So the defense scored a touchdown, so Bryce Young got 6 points for them. This is my point, that as of right now, he is the worst quarterback in the NFL. And if he's not better than Andy Dalton right now, don't play him. He needs to prove in practice that he's better. And they gave him the job. I don't believe this is all on Frank Reich, because I do believe out of all the coaches in that NFC South, I think Frank Reich is the best coach in that division. I truly think he knows how to get good things out of his quarterbacks. When he had Carson Wentz 2 years ago, Carson Wentz, I think his stat line was like 27 touchdowns, 7 picks for that year, something like that. He had a really good year. People just didn't want to believe that. But anyway, Vikings, this was do or die. You had to win this game over a team that you should beat to keep your season alive. And for the Panthers, I think you're now through 3 games of Bryce Young, but 4 games overall. It's not like they have no weapons. Adam Thielen, I think, is still is he a number 1 option? No, but he's a solid wide receiver for you. Shark is a solid wide receiver for you. Is it Chark or Shark? I think it's Chark. Sorry, DJ Chark. He's solid, like nothing great, but solid. And Hayden Hurst, I think, is a solid tight end. And you got Miles Sanders. I think you have solid pieces around them. Their defense is fine. Overall, their defense is actually pretty good. But anyway, I just think because their defense, if you looked at, they only allowed 14 points, which is not bad. So if I'm Carolina, how many more times are you going to give Bryce Young? When is it going to be enough? Obviously, people will be like, dude, it's way too early. We're only past week 4. Yeah, but he's not even having any bright spots, in my opinion. I'm not seeing real talent that's sustainable. I'm not saying, okay, you did like Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson did, and we'll get to the Jets, but Zach Wilson did 2 nights ago what I thought that he's capable of. He has arm talent. The guy has a good arm. So it's you just need to see him actually put it all together. Bryce Young, like I've said, I think he's got a mediocre arm as far as power. He's got good accuracy, but he can't stand in the pocket to actually deliver the ball. He's obviously got to be running around all the time because you don't want him taking hits. I just think this is a disaster pick. I think Carolina screwed themselves, and I would have taken C.J. Stroud with the first pick. I'm not doing 2020. I said that at the time. And yeah, he's proven to be the right guy. Anthony Richardson I had as number 2 because he's got a high ceiling, because you think maybe he could be a Cam Newton, but maybe his accuracy would need some work and you weren't sure. But Bryce I had at 3 because I just didn't see the special. And I'm taller than Bryce Young, and I know that I would not be big enough to play quarterback in the NFL. I got more meat on my bones, obviously, but still, you're still going to get jacked up. It's the NFL. Anybody, no matter how big you are, you take enough hits, you're going to get jacked up. But in general, I'm bigger than Bryce Young in my build. And I've gained some weight. I'm fat right now, but even just without that, if I slim back down, I still have more bulk on me than Bryce Young. And it's just crazy that dude's trying to play quarterback at an NFL level. I predict that Bryce Young is literally... I'd say we'll finish out the rookie contract. The Panthers will not pick it up. And I think he'll look to see maybe if he can be a backup. Maybe one team would take a shot on him. But say 6 or 7 years, I see him being a college football analyst on Fox or ESPN. So I think that's just what his future is going to be. I think it was crazy that the Panthers picked him this high. I don't know whose decision that was, but they probably shouldn't have a job for much longer. For the Vikings, you had to win that game. Good for them. I think the Vikings... Kirk Cousins, you might be done with them at the end of the season, but I don't want to see them just completely tank and fall apart. I had them being 9-7, I think, at the end of the year, but I think that was before they lost to Tampa. But I don't know. I mean, maybe if they can win some games that they're not really supposed to win, then maybe we can get back to thinking they could possibly make the playoffs. As of right now, they're far from it. Next game, we had Steelers at Texans. Got this one wrong, although I didn't bet on this game because I was, a little nervous because I was like, I'm not a big Kenny Pickett guy. I did think at this point the Steelers with their defense could do enough to hold the Texans off, disrupt them, and then obviously make the plays that they need to make on offense. That didn't happen. 6 points of offense. Kenny Pickett got banged up. Trubisky, they said he came in. I was watching Red Zone because that's what I do, and I didn't see any offensive highlights. I think at that point the game was pretty much a wrap. But Texans, yeah, CJ Stroud, I mean, he looks like a veteran, and he just finished his 4th game. So, and I want to point out something. Their battle red uniforms, because they got the red jerseys and they got their red alternate helmet, that should be their normal uniform. It looks better. There's not another team that there's teams that use red and blue. The Patriots are the main ones that's coming to my mind that uses red and blue. When the Texans are in their blue, if you didn't look at the helmet, you might think, well, maybe that's the Patriots with the way the colors, because it's almost the same colors. But when they wear their battle reds, I'm like, yeah, that's what you guys should be. It's unique because obviously you have blue. The Chiefs wear red, but they don't have blue in their colors. The Cardinals wear red, but they don't have blue in their colors. So off the top of my head, yeah, aside from the Patriots, they'd be the only ones. And yeah, those uniforms, they look great. Those battle red helmets look great. That's what they should be wearing for their home games. Yeah. As far as like a change up for the Texans, I don't think I know I've heard their uniforms are going to be changed out. Keep with the battle red, embrace that. I don't know what to do with the blue. Still have it in there, but just it doesn't need to be. They just don't look as their uniforms look. Their uniforms back with the old mesh, like what the uniforms used to be made out of. Their blue ones, it used to look actually pretty good, and now since they're all with the Nike, the blue ones they look fairly cheap in my opinion when you look at them up close. The red look good though. But anyway, yeah. CJ Stroud looking good. The Texans are 2-2. They're tied for first place in that division. I mean, granted, everybody. Is everybody tied for first place? Colts, yeah. Everybody in the AFC South is 2-2. Colts, Texans, Jags, Titans, yeah. But yeah, CJ Stroud, he's coming along a lot faster than even I thought. I was confident in him, but I was like, I don't know if the Texans are going to have the weapons. But Nico Collins looks good. They got Dalton Schultz, the tight end. Robert Woods is there. I think they got another guy, Tank Dell, I think is there. I might be missing somebody else. Damian Pierce, their running back. Really, and they still have Laramie Tunsil. They look like they got pieces in place, so I'm happy the growth that I'm seeing. They got Will Anderson on defense and Derek Stingley and a few other guys that I can't think off the top of my head. Guys that need to make more of a name for themselves, or at least we need to watch Texans in primetime would be nice. That's really what I would like to see, is to be able to watch Houston in primetime. I'd have to look at the schedule to see when that might happen. I mean, Thursday night we always get these clunkers of games, so I would hope that at some point Houston's on that schedule. For Pittsburgh, they don't have a bye week, so I named all those other situations where the quarterback or the team that had an important player got banged up. They got a bye week coming up. Pittsburgh does not, so unfortunate for them, but I heard that the knee injury is supposedly not that serious. I mean, I think what that means is you have Trubisky. Trubisky isn't a complete abomination of a starting quarterback. In my opinion, if you're wanting to win, I think Trubisky gives you a better chance to win right now than Pickett. You just got to give Pickett his reps, but I think Mitch could come in there. Now, I don't think he's going to win a whole lot of games for you, but I think he could win a couple. So that offense, it's not like they don't have pieces. Their O-line still needs work. That's part of it, why their running game can't get going. And that's why part of their passing game sucks too, is they can't hold up all that well. But yeah, Kenny Pickett's also he looks like through 2 years he's not that guy, but we'll see. It's still early. And as of right now, if the playoffs were to end today, I think the Steelers, they'd still be the 7th seed, so they'd still squeak in. So if you're a Steelers fan, don't give up all hope. You guys this is kind of what you are. You're a team that's banking on your defense to get you turnovers to stay up with it. Your offense is going to be inconsistent. So, yeah. All right, next game, we had the Raiders at the Chargers. So, yeah, now we're getting into the afternoon games. Raiders at the Chargers, going into the game, I was surprised that Jimmy G got ruled out because I was like, he finished that game, and I get he's in concussion protocol. But if Jimmy would have started, I would have picked the Raiders. And honestly, looking into it, the Raiders only lost by a touchdown. And I think if Jimmy G comes in, I think he's able to get the ball out faster than Aiden O'Connell was. And Khalil Mack probably doesn't get 6 sacks, which is crazy. And yeah, I too was like, is Khalil Mack done? Because I haven't heard his name be called in a football game in a long time. But nope, shows up with 6 sacks. You could say the Raiders O-line's terrible. For the most part, it is. Devontae Adams got banged up, but he stayed in the game. yeah, if the Raiders, I think they were just being precautionary and going, hey, we want to see what Aiden O'Connell's got. And Jimmy, if you're in concussion protocol, we don't want something like what happened with Tua last year to happen to you. So we'll just sit you. And I think that's the right move. I mean, they're 1-3 now. I mean, it's not looking good, but you're not completely out of it. And yeah, so I think overall with this game, the Raiders, their defense didn't look god awful. You only allowed 24 points to the Chargers. That's not god awful. And the offense, they still were able to move the ball and get some production, although they scored late to make it closer. But I just think with Jimmy G, I think it gives him a better chance. His precision passing, his speed that he gets the ball out, this familiarity with Josh McDaniels' offense. Yeah, I everyone called me crazy because I thought the Raiders could make the playoffs this year. I mean, you can still say that, but I saw more from Tyree Wilson. He was making an impact in the running game, which is nice to see. Chandler Jones, they released officially. I mean, obviously I'm not a Raiders fan. I'm a Chiefs fan, so I don't really want them to be super successful. At the same time, I've now hit a point in the NFL where I'm more like, it's not completely like the NBA, but I generally like, if there's people in the organization that I like, I might root for them. But if there's people that I don't stand for, I won't like you. But yeah, I don't like Josh McDaniels as a head coach, but I do like Jimmy G because everyone craps on him and acts like he sucks. So I do, I guess, root for his success in that regard. And they do have weapons, so we'll see what happens with them. Stay tuned. Herbert got banged up with the Chargers. This was the first game that Mike Williams was all the way out for. Quentin Johnston, I'd have to look at his stats. I don't think he did a whole lot as their, come in number 2 receiver. So they still got some work to do, but they have a bye week now, so Herbert gets the rest of his hands, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Right now, I think the Chargers, if the playoffs were to end today, they'd be the 6th seed, so see what happens there. Next one, we had Patriots-Cowboys. This one was a blowout, 38-3. Wasn't even competitive, in my opinion. Patriots couldn't do anything. Cowboys had 2 interceptions for, I forgot the guy's name. I'm not going to remember the guy's name. Starts with a B. Cornerback that they have. Picked off Mac Jones twice. One he ran back for a touchdown. For the Cowboys, you were supposed to win this game. You dominated. Your defense looked great. Your offense did what they needed to do. So no surprise there. Pat yourselves on the back. Keep moving forward. For the Patriots, Mac Jones, I think if he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, he's near the bottom. He's in the bottom 10 in my opinion. And yeah, I just Mac is a guy that if he's your quarterback, you're not completely panicking going, oh my gosh, we're going to be god-awful this year. But if he's your quarterback, you go, we need to be on the horizon for other people. And as of right now, if the Patriots want to upgrade, you still need other things in the draft. And we'll get to who I think they might be drafting, but you'll still need other pieces. So I wouldn't just go out and stretch and draft a quarterback and reach for them. But if Kirk Cousins becomes available, I don't think that's a bad option. I think that would be actually really good because he'd be a grown-up that could play quarterback, has more talent than Mac Jones, and it gives the rest of your roster a guy that's in more win-now mode. Another guy that is not as good in my opinion, but Kyler Murray might be available if the Cardinals draft a quarterback. And I'm not saying that the Patriots want to deal with his attitude because they wouldn't put up with it. But Kyler is a more dynamic athlete and a better quarterback than Mac Jones. He just is. So, yeah, I don't know. Those would be the 2 options off the top of my head if you don't end up drafting a quarterback if it doesn't fall for you. As of right now, I think where they're positioned, they wouldn't be in position to draft one of the top 3 quarterbacks. And if you're not doing that, then I would just draft the best available player. And they do need some help, especially on that offense. And like I said, we'll get to that. All right. Then we had Cardinals 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, maybe one of the best fantasy picks I've ever done. I mean, probably my best fantasy pick I ever made. I'll just do quarterback, for instance. I mean, I used to draft Peyton Manning every year, and I even drafted him, I think, in 2011 because I wasn't sure he was going to be ruled out for the year, and he was. But 2013, having him when he threw for 55 touchdowns, oh, it was awesome. I mean, he was like almost guaranteed to get me like 40 points every game. It was great. So Cardinals 49ers, yeah, McCaffrey, he just touchdown machine. I think he had 3 or 4. He might have had 4 touchdowns. For the Cardinals, they're showing that they're competitive in every game, that they're not just going to roll over. But at the end of the day, they're limited with what they can do. Josh Jacobs is showing that he's at least deserving to be on an NFL roster, but I don't think he's starting caliber. The Cardinals quarterback Wilson, or the wide receiver Wilson, he flashed a few times because I got to see most of that game on Red Zone because there was only 3 games at the time. So he looks like he's a up-and-comer. I don't know exactly how good he is yet. I still need to see him more. It's hard to really tell what his size is. He looks like a smaller wide receiver, but I think he got a touchdown to 2-point conversion or maybe just 2 touchdowns. I don't know. I'd have to look. But yeah, with McCaffrey, I love the way the 49ers are using him because he's a Swiss Army knife. You're using him with some catches out of the backfield. He's running some routes. Obviously, he can do that. But you're running him, I think, the appropriate amount of times. I don't think you're overdoing it. You're giving him his touches, but you're not overdoing it. And when you get around the goal line, McCaffrey's a pretty great option with your offensive line. Defense of the Cardinals, I don't think he even played bad. They played okay. 49ers defense, I think, played solid. Brock Purdy didn't have to do a whole lot. So, yeah, good formula for success for winning. Okay, then last game, because we've already done the Monday night game. So, the last game was the Sunday night game. Chiefs-Jets. Chiefs were up 17-0. Isaiah Pacheco looked good. He was running the ball good early. Mahomes had a touchdown to Noah Gray, our backup tight end. And, yeah, I thought everything was humming. And then all of a sudden, Mahomes throws, I think he threw 2 picks. Both of them, I think he was trying to do, he was looking at something, says, hey, there's an opening, I'm going to try that. He just either didn't set his feet right or didn't arc the ball correctly. So it got picked off. Credit to the Jets defense for that. And yeah, everyone's throwing a hissy fit about the holding call. That was holding. Now, you could say, is it called every time? They don't consistently call almost anything in this league. It all deals with the officials, who saw what, whatever. I feel like every single game that you watch, you could be like, man, that looks like holding to me, and they didn't call it. It depends on who you're rooting for. And then on the opposite end, you could be like, that wasn't a hold, because I see plays like that don't get called. And then other games, it's like, well, they do call that in some of the games. It's inconsistent. I don't know if they're ever going to be perfect because, tennis has like a sky judge, which it's a AI, like it's an eye that basically spots if the ball's out or not. That works for tennis because you're just dealing with dimensions and if something makes contact or not. NFL, it's a lot more subjective to be able to go, I can call a holding or whatever. That said, I think what they should do is each game should have like a panel, like a committee, and then anytime you just would want to have them have camera angles, but it'd be hard. But basically, if you think something is either a call or not, it would just be nice that the officials press a button. It goes like basically they saw something. They could like press and go, hey, I saw this on this play, like point it out. And then the footage gets shown to a committee. And then let's say you have like 5 people. They vote whether it is a penalty or it's not. And then, yeah, and you basically go from there. And if it's that means obviously you're going to always have a different number. So I think that might be the best way. Maybe you only do that for reviews or challenges. I don't know. Overall, I think our review system's pretty fine right now. They've really helped a lot. The challenge system is fine. I like that if you challenge and get it correctly, you don't get penalized for it, and you keep your challenge, which is nice because you shouldn't be getting penalized for getting the right call. Let's go to Zach Wilson because the Chiefs were able to pull it out at the end, 23-20. Mahomes slid. I did have the Chiefs winning and covering. Obviously, that didn't work out. But as far as people going, this was a really close game. It was. But at the same time, Mahomes could have went in for a touchdown. We probably win by 10, which then people are going, hey, was it actually that close? So, yeah, the Jets, Zach Wilson played. It was nice to see, even me rooting for the Chiefs, I couldn't help but be like, I'm happy to see Zach Wilson actually being productive because he's a guy that, while I do think it was good to bring in a veteran like Aaron Rodgers that gives you a chance to win, but on top of that, gives Zach Wilson an actual legit Hall of Famer to learn from and go, that's how you play the quarterback position. That's how you read that defense. That's how you say this in the huddle. That's how you do this. That's how the mechanics I need to have. So, and they're actually similar to Zach is not as big as Aaron, but Zach does have the arm talent, not the complete arm talent of Aaron Rodgers, but he has really good arm talent. So it's nice that, yeah, Zach Wilson was able to get some offense going. And yeah, do I still think they should have a veteran to come in there and at least compete with Zach and show him like a Carson Wentz? Yeah. But if Aaron is going to be available on the sidelines, which he was there at the game, he wasn't on the sidelines during the game. He went up to the suite. But it's just nice to have his presence there. So I think the Jets will be able to get more offense. Now, I still think they'll struggle to get wins because, Zach Wilson has to play like that consistently. But there are some teams I think that out there that they could beat. That Zach Wilson, if he can duplicate that or at least get some of that going, I think they could be interesting. And for the Chiefs, it's kind of like with the Eagles. As long as you can win, who really cares what it looks like? For me, our offense, our wide receivers still look slightly problematic, but it was nice to see our running game get going with Pacheco. That was nice because he is really our feature back and our number one back. So, that was nice. Mahomes doesn't have many of those games where he throws multiple interceptions, so I'm not too worried about that because we were still able to win the game. Now, if we would have lost, it's not just how he performs, but like how your guy's mentality is coming after a win, coming after a loss are two different things. So I know Andy Reid and Mahomes are both like this, that even after a win, they're going to look at the coverage and go like, got to learn from this, got to be better than that. But at the same time, I know it won't drain the locker room and drain the guy's psyche because Mahomes can go, watch that film, see what happened, but go, hey, we won the game, so same intensity the next game. If he would have lost, I think Mahomes would have really been like, man, I just cost our team the game. Like, he would have felt bad, and I would have been worried about how that's going to... Mahomes is a tough guy. I have no doubt he'll bounce back from anything, but I'm just saying, stuff can snowball when your team's not playing well and you start losing. So, so that was it for that game. Like I said, I do want to get into the picks, and then I want to do the mock. We're right at about an hour. So, yeah, let's do the picks for next week. Week 5. So there's only 4 teams on a bye, so there should be 14 games overall. And like I said, I went 13-3. Brown went 13-3. Jeff, did great this last week. Going 10-6 is still really good. And like I said, now me and him are tied overall, and then Brown's leading by 4 games, I believe. Yeah, like I said. Okay, so first game, we got the Thursday night game, which is Bears and Commanders. So, yeah, how would I... So, people are going to think I'm crazy for this. I don't know why my camera's doing that. Okay, yeah, people think I'm going to be crazy for this, but I saw enough from the Bears with their offense, the way Justin Fields played, that I go, okay, you've unlocked it, or you figured out that you can't actually score like this. The Commanders, I'm still not sold on, even though they're 2-2, and people are like, well, they just pushed the, defending NFC champions, they just pushed them to overtime. I get that, but I'm going to take the upset here. I'm going to take the Bears. I think the Bears finally get their win. I think Washington... I'm just not sold. I'm not sold on that defense. There's a lot of things I'm not sold on, but I think Justin Fields can outplay Sam Howell, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think they found something in this last game. So, we go with the Bears on that one, which, like I said, I'm probably one of the only people taking the Bears to pick the worst team in the NFL right now. But, yeah, I'll take them. Okay, what do we got next? We got the London game, which is not in Wembley. It's at a different stadium. Jaguars at Bills, but like I said, it's in London. Jags, like I said, they looked solid this last week against the Falcons. Nothing spectacular. The Bills obviously looked great offensively and defensively, pretty good. I'll take the Bills there. Bills are favored by 5.5. But yeah, I'll take the Bills until they face certain opponents. I'm going to pretty much pick them to kind of not trounce. I think this game, Bills probably win by, I would say, like 13 or 10, something like that. All right, moving on. Texans at the Falcons. So both teams are 2-2. Atlanta's favored by 1 at home. So even though I really like CJ Stroud and I like what they're building, I still think the Falcons have enough on that roster overall because their offensive line's pretty good. Their running game is still pretty good. They're still not even using Cordell Patterson. I don't think he got one snap at all. I don't know what's going on there, but I'd like to see him actually. I think he was a healthy scratch. I'd like to see him play. Sorry. I'm going to take the Falcons here. I think it's a really close game. I think it comes down to a field goal. But I think the Falcons can pull this one off. They're at home. I'll take the Falcons there. Because everyone, I'm sure, is going to be like, oh, the way C.J. Stroud's playing, pick Houston. I still need to see more from Houston overall. But, yeah, this is a close game. I'll take the Falcons at home. Okay, Panthers at the Lions. Lions are favored by 9. It's in Detroit. My thing is, if Andy Dalton was playing, I'd be like, yeah, the Panthers could probably keep it close, 10-point game. The way Bryce Young's playing, and with Aiden Hutchinson licking his lips, being like, oh my gosh, I get to go up against Bryce Young, awesome. I'll take the Lions. And yeah, that 9-point spread, I think it's probably going to go more than that. I think the Lions probably win this game by like 17. Okay, moving on. Titans at the Colts, so it's in Indy. Colts are favored by 1.5. I'm going to take the Titans here. I think the Titans getting their run game unlocked a little bit in that last game with Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill, if he can stay upright, I think, and the Colts, it's not that they have a bad pass rush. DeForest Buckner's good, but I'll take the Titans. I think I like their coach more than Shane Steichen because Mike Vrabel's more proven. And I like Tannehill more than most people, so I will take the Titans there. All right. Giants at Dolphins. So Giants just lost last night. So it's in Miami. We don't have a over under for this game yet because as I'm recording this at 6:30 in the morning. Jeez. Um, I will. Everyone's going to take the Dolphins. So Saquon should be back at this point, and I know how bad the Giants played. I'm going to pick the Giants in an upset. I think the Dolphins showed their defense is definitely gettable. Kayvon Thibodeau looked actually pretty good last night, but the media wouldn't tell you that. But Kayvon Thibodeau was getting pressure on Geno Smith. So yeah, I actually don't think the defense of the Giants played all that bad. I don't think Daniel Jones is all that bad. I just think the offensive line needed to get more help. Well, Seattle probably is a little bit better on the defensive side than Miami is. So I'll take the Giants in an upset. And like I said, I think that Daniel Jones can show out in this game with Miami's defense. I think Daniel Jones can show out and be the bigger star and have the bigger day than Tua even, which controversial, I guess. But yeah. All right, Saints at the Patriots. So the Patriots are favored by 1.5. So this one's interesting to me. If Derek Carr, if another week helps him, I don't know. That's the thing. If another week helps him, then I think they can win. If Jameis comes in, I think the problem is with the Patriots defense, I think Jameis is too turnover prone. I think he turned over. Although I think he did beat them a couple of years ago when Mac Jones' rookie year, 2 years ago when Jameis was the starter, was the year after Drew Brees retired. Granted, they had Sean Payton still as a head coach, but I haven't heard anything that Derek Carr's not playing because he was able to play in this last game, even though they didn't put up a lot of points. But I will take the Saints. The Patriots defense or the Patriots offense has also looked terrible, so that's another thing. Saints defense is pretty good. So I will take the Saints on the road. And if Jameis plays, then I would switch that and I'd take the Patriots. But yeah, as of right now, I'll take the Saints. Ravens at Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. Ravens are favored by 4.5. Regardless if Pickett can go or if they put Trubisky in, I think the Ravens just have too much offensively, even though Steelers defense is good. But although, I don't know. They allowed 30 points to the Texans, so... But yeah, the Ravens. I'll take the Ravens there. Pittsburgh. I mean, it should be a physical game, but I think the Ravens just have too much firepower. They actually have a competent quarterback, unlike Pittsburgh. Okay, so we're now in the afternoon games. Eagles at Rams. Eagles are favored by 4.5. Upset. I know. Stafford got banged up. I know his hip got injured, and I guess that's a question. If Stafford doesn't play, then I'm not going to go with this pick. But as of right now, because he was able to finish this game. If Stafford can play, I'm taking the Rams at home, upset pick. That Eagles defense is susceptible in the way Stafford and Puka Nakua's connection, and the run game's been actually pretty good for the Rams. And Cooper Kupp might be back for this game, I think, because it's week 5, so I think he could be back. I'll take the Rams, yeah. Which controversial pick, I get it. Bengals at Cardinals. Cincinnati is favored by 3 in Arizona. That's the thing. I don't know if Joe Burrow's playing. I don't know, but I heard from Zach Taylor that he's like, no, we have no plan of sitting Joe Burrow. So even though the Bengals have looked like crap, I gotta believe that they turn this around at some point. I mean, like I said, against the Rams, they were able to turn it around and get some production. So I will take the Bengals. But if the Bengals lose this game, then it's like you seriously got to think about doing it, yanking the plug. Jets at Broncos. So this game is in Denver. Denver's favored by 2. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think that the way their offense is clicking, I think they can put up more points than the Jets. But this should be an interesting game. I don't know. And people talk about the whole thing with Nathaniel Hackett versus Sean Payton. Yeah, sure, that'll be interesting. And I think this will be the primetime game on CBS, I believe. I mean, let me look. Chiefs-Vikings probably going to be a primetime, but should be interesting. Yeah, I know 2, 1, and 3 teams, but yeah, should be interesting. I'll take the Broncos, but if it's a shame because if Aaron Rodgers would have been able to play for this, it would have been sweet to watch. But yeah, I'll take the Broncos. I need to see Zach Wilson do this more consistently, and I think Russell Wilson has actually played pretty consistent, and I would say good, not great, but good so far this year. I don't think he's been the reason. That defense needs help. But against Zach Wilson, you should be able to have a bit of a get-right game, you would think. Chiefs at Vikings. My Chiefs. Okay, so it's in Minnesota. Chiefs are favored by 5. I'll take the Chiefs. I don't really think the Chiefs should be not favored. I mean, I think they should be the favorites to win every game. Not saying they're going to win every game because obviously we didn't. We lost to Detroit. But I think the Chiefs are better than Minnesota. I think the Chiefs can exploit Minnesota's defense, which blitzes a lot. I think they're number one in blitzes. I think I heard that on the Manningcast. Mahomes kills the blitz normally, but yeah, I think the Chiefs are just going to be too much. We'll put up too many points. I think our defense can get pressure on Kirk Cousins, so that should be good. And McDuffie's playing like a great cornerback. Can't deny that. All right, and then we have the Sunday night game. Cowboys at 49ers. 49ers are favored by 4. Like I said, it's in San Francisco. Upset. I'm going to take the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys defense is playing at a higher level than the 49ers right now. And I know they're coming a week off where they lost to the Cardinals, and I know like a week before, and the 49ers just beat the Cardinals. But I think Dak Prescott has a higher ceiling than Brock Purdy, and I honestly think the 49ers passing game has looked okay. Deebo Samuel didn't do much this last game. George Kittle didn't do much this last game. Brandon Ayuk was basically the big play guy along with McCaffrey. I think the Cowboys defense can lock in on the guys that are healthy and lock them up, and the guys that are a little banged up, looks like Deebo might be a little banged up. I think they can be like, yeah, sure, we'll let him see what he's going to do. McCaffrey's going to be the guy that they're mainly going to try to stop because he's been the guy that's scoring the most points. But I will take the Cowboys on the road. I think the Cowboys, they're so motivated to win this game. You've lost to this team 2 years in a row in the playoffs. I think the Cowboys get it done. And then the last game is the Monday night game. And real quick, the teams on a bye: Browns, Chargers, Seahawks, Bucks. All those teams are at least 2-2 or better. The Seahawks and Bucks are 3-1. So I know I don't ever like teams having a bye, but at the same time I do like teams being able to rest to stay healthy. Packers at Raiders. So that's in Vegas. Packers are favored by 2. Jimmy G's probably going to be out of concussion protocol by then. It's 8 days basically to rest up. I think Jimmy G's playing, and I will take the Raiders. They're a home dog against the Packers, which Jordan Love, he's not some superstar, at least not in my opinion. So, yeah, I will take the Raiders. The Raiders' offensive line doesn't look good, but I think with the Packers, I think they can score enough points, and I think their defense could get pressure on Jordan Love. So, yeah, I will take the Raiders on that one. So, that's it for the picks. Where are we at in time? Yeah, a little over. That didn't take that long. Okay, let's get to the mock draft. Okay, so, let's go. All right, so with the number 1 pick, all right, so it'd be the Chicago Bears right now. So for that, I'm going to have the Bears draft Caleb Williams. I think that's pretty obvious. Justin Fields, see you later. Trade you to whoever's willing to take you because he's just now doing his 3rd year. So, yeah, 4th year, he'll still be there. I think he'll still be under contract. All right, second pick, Bears via the Carolina Panthers. We're taking Marvin Harrison Jr., pairing him with DJ Moore. You're set up to basically have a good quarterback, wide receiver. And people being like, what if Caleb Williams doesn't want to go? Look, if you fire Eberflus and if you're Ryan Poles and you go, hey, I'm bringing in the right people to help you out. I'll bring in an offensive coach. Or if you don't bring in an offensive head coach, bring in a great defensive coach or experienced coach and then bring in an experienced offensive coordinator and don't bring in some guy that no one's ever heard of. Okay, the Cardinals, pick number 3. I'm sorry, but your best ability is availability, and Kyler Murray dinged up, still not playing. And even if he is playing, I don't have him as a top even 20 quarterback. So I'm going to take Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Baby Josh Allen is what people are talking about, calling him. So yeah, instead of having the shortest quarterback in the league aside from Bryce Young, wouldn't it be nice if you had one of the biggest guys in the league? Take Drake May. If you want to let him sit under Kyler for a year, which Kyler would probably throw a big temper tantrum, but I would try to trade Kyler. I just don't know what, with his injury, his contract, and his attitude, and his lack of production, I don't know who would really want to take him. I'm sure someone might be willing to take a chance on him, maybe. But if not, maybe you could let Kyler start and Drake May could watch for a year and then you move on from Kyler. I don't know. How do you get out of Kyler's contract? I think the Cardinals are kind of screwed in that regard. But yeah, I would take Drake May. I'm sorry, but I've seen enough of Kyler to know that I don't think he's going to win at the NFL level consistently without getting banged up. Broncos at number 4. I'm on Pro Football Focus's mock draft. They say the Broncos need a wide receiver, a center, and a corner. I know, but your offensive line needs more help than just the center. So I'm going to take Fashanu, the Penn State tackle. Broncos need, I'm sorry, yes, they need help on defense for sure. But that offense, Russ runs for his life a lot of times. A lot of times they can't get help in the run because they can't get any push. Take Fashanu. He's your stalwart to tackle. That should help you out. And like I said, you're not getting out of the Russ contract anytime soon. So top 2 quarterbacks are already taken. I would try to build around them, and then if Russ is clearly not the guy, or if he's getting older where he can't play anymore, then try to put in another quarterback. All right, number 5, we got the Raiders. Says here they need a quarterback, and I would agree with that for the fact of, even though I like Jimmy G's slightly limited, and Jimmy G, he'll probably get tired of this because he's like, yeah, he's San Francisco, I was the guy, and then you drafted people to sit underneath me and learn from me. But that's what I would do. I would draft a prospect that you're like, we really like this guy, we're high on him, but it might do him some good to sit behind Jimmy for a year or two. And that's what I would do. And I would take Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Take him for the Raiders. Dion, I don't know if he's down with the Raiders. I think he would be, because the Raiders seem to be a lot about what Dion's about, which is flash, style, personality, all that stuff. So, I mean, and who knows? If Josh McDaniel gets fired in a year, maybe the Raiders throw Deion Sanders a crazy ton of money and go, hey, well, you want to go coach your son? I don't think he'd say no to that. I don't. And the Raiders would become like a destination, new stadium, Vegas. And that's not too far from Colorado. I could see that happening. I mean, predicting it now, I could see that happening. But yeah, I think that'd be a good pick. And then you still, like I said, you let Shedeur learn. And if anything, because Jimmy G gets injured a lot, if he gets injured, Shedeur, you can come in and play. But I would let Shedeur sit for like probably a year. And then, like I said, and then, a year or two. And then when you think he's ready, if I'm the Raiders, I fire Josh McDaniel and I try to get Deion Sanders. 6th pick, the Jets. I know they need a tackle. I get all that. But I think there's some other people they could get that could help them out, because I think it's more than just a tackle is what they need on offense. So if I'm them, Rome Odunze, the wide receiver, I think that's how you say his guy's name, the guy from Washington, the 6'3" receiver, he's great. And the Jets, look, you have Garrett Wilson. He's clearly a great receiver. I don't know if he's a true number 1. I think he's he's maybe vying to be a number 1 receiver. But Alan Lazard is good, but he's not great. I think he's your 2 at best. And then Randall Cobb is old as hell. And then I think they basically got rid of, like, Corey Davis retired. McCole Hardman's a speedster that never sees the field. So you get Rome Odunze, and I know, like I said, I know you need a tackle, but I think you get a tackle a little bit later on in the draft. Rome Odunze, you get him. He's a difference maker at wide receiver. Then you got him, Garrett Wilson, your top 2, and then Alan Lazard out of the slot. That's a great receiving core, and that would help anybody, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson. I think you go with him. 7th pick, Patriots. Says they need quarterback, wide receiver, tackle. Yeah, but you can't pass up on this guy. Brock Bowers, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Gronk, but the Patriots, I'm sure, are tired of Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, which I think those guys are solid tight ends, but they're not anything special that's going to make a Pro Bowl. So I'd get Brock Bowers, and you probably could move on from one of those tight ends. I like Gesicki a little bit more than Hunter Henry, so I'd probably try to move on from Hunter Henry and get a true difference maker as a target to help your quarterback out, whether it's going to be Mac Jones or somebody else. But yeah, because right now they don't have anybody special that can catch passes. You draft Brock Bowers, you have somebody special that the defense is like, we have to worry about that dude. Okay, Vikings at 8. Here's where I try to get them some offensive line help, because even though it says they need a guard or center, I still think they need help. Tackle, you get Joe. I don't know what happened there. You get Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame. Big dude, 6'8", huge. Christian Darrisaw is there. I think that balances everything out, because that's honestly one of the biggest problems I see for the Vikings is they can't pass protect good enough to actually give Kirk Cousins time and give Justin Jefferson time. And then on top of that, they also can't run the ball, which I don't think Madison's a great running back. But yeah, they need some help some places. But I don't think it's as simple as Kirk Cousins your whole problem. I really don't. And my thing is, if there's not a better alternative out there and you're not in a position to draft a good quarterback without reaching, I would just roll Kirk Cousins back, maybe sign him to like a 2-year deal, and then go, okay, we're going to keep trying to build the roster. 9 with the Giants, I'm going to take the Alabama edge rusher, Dallas Turner. So Kayvon Thibodeau is obviously working as a pass rusher, but I don't see anybody else. So I think you need more guys to get pressure on the other quarterback, because the rest of that defense I think is actually kind of solid. If you can build the rest of that defense up, then Daniel Jones with his running game, you become more of a control team with Saquon Barkley. Then it makes more sense as an identity for your roster. So Dallas Turner, I think he's a good prospect right there to pick. All right, number 10, we got the Bengals. Oh, LSU wide receiver Malik Nabers. I don't know how to pronounce his name. So, yeah, with the Bengals, you have Jamar Chase, and you have T. Higgins, and you have Tyler Boyd. I'm not that high on Tyler Boyd. I think he's fine. But T. Higgins, you're probably not going to be able to keep. He's probably gone after this year. So if you're not able to get him, you need a replacement. You get a fellow LSU guy that clicks with your LSU quarterback and your LSU other wide receiver. And Neighbors is just a speed guy that would be perfect for what they need. And look, do they need some other things? Of course, they probably could use another tackle, like this thing says. Maybe a tight end to replace Hayden Hurst. But I still think that that kind of talent you can't pass up in that connection. So, yeah, that's what I would get. 11, we got the Cardinals, and this is their pick from the Houston Texans. They need some things. They do need a corner, and that's my thing is, can you even name like who the Cardinals are playing at there? I would take Kool-Aid McKinstry, the guy from Alabama. Take him. Then for the Cardinals, your draft is Drake May on offense and Kool-Aid on defense. I like that. 12 with the Colts. We're going to go Jerzon Newton, the D tackle from Illinois. Pair up someone to be in there with DeForest Buckner. I like that combo. Two big bodies can stop the run, get pressure on the quarterback. I like that. 13, the Rams. Says here they need offensive line help. They do. And it says they need D-line help, linebacker, defensive back. They do. They need all those things. I'm not denying that. But there's a guy that I like that I think if you could get this guy, makes your offense borderline unstoppable. I'm going to do Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida State. I like this. So the way I look at it, you have Cooper Kupp coming back from injury. You have a gem in Puka Nacua, which he might end up being a number one wide receiver, and Cooper might be the 2. You don't really have a third guy. You have Tutu Atwell, which is more of like a jet sweep kind of guy, do some trickery with. And then you have Van Jefferson, who's okay. But you get this guy, Keon Coleman. You now have one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL, if not the best. And yeah, I think Stafford now has full weapons. You can still have another year of maybe getting some offensive line help in the draft, and your defense is coming along. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, for the Falcons, for them, after seeing them, I mean, obviously they need a quarterback, but I think there's another guy they could probably use more. Even though they do have a solid offensive line, I think they could get a little bit better. So I'm going to go J.C. Latham, the tackle from Alabama. Just build up that roster even more. That way, whenever you're ready to get, if it's Justin Fields trade or I don't know who else, you're Ryan Tannehill in the offseason. I don't know. But that way you are much better prepared to actually protect whatever quarterback you do get in there. Because really the Falcons' core of who they have is I think they have good guards and they have a good center, but they need help on the tackles, in my opinion. All right, the Texans. So here is where I think a trade's going to come in. Because the Texans, I think they probably just want to. This is the Cleveland pick from Deshaun Watson trade. I think they just want to, see if they can use this capital that they have to maybe get more picks. So Quinn Ewers is available, and all the Texans, they have C.J. Stroud. They might not want him, but like looking at it, the Saints might be interested in him. The Commanders might be interested in him. The Steelers might be interested in him. Tampa. So you don't know, but I think Quinn Ewers is going to go here. But since I can't put a trade right here, I'm going to say Texans take Quinn Ewers and then they find a trade for him. Because, I mean, it would be cool to see a Texas quarterback going to the Texans. But if you have C.J. Stroud and the way he's playing right now, you're not going to move off him. But what I'm saying is Cleveland takes this pick. Somebody wants to move up for a quarterback, Quinn Ewers. And the Texans go, hey, we'll let you move up. We want a future first-round pick. Maybe not a future first, but maybe a future second, and maybe they swap picks, obviously. But that's what I think they could get. And getting like a future second-round pick to allow someone to move up a couple slots, that's great. So that would be cool for the Texans because they do need just more pieces. 16 for the Saints. I have them taking. Let's go with the UCLA edge rusher Latu. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. The way I see it for the Saints, they have Cameron Jordan. They lost Davenport in the offseason. And they have Brisset, the D tackle that they got from Clemson. But just more pass rush, I think, is what the Saints need. Obviously, they maybe could use some more like secondary help. Maybe their offensive. I don't know. I like their offensive line. I like their wide receivers. I like their running backs. And you already invested that money in Derek Carr, so I wouldn't just you have Jameis. I don't think their quarterback backup situation is bad. Just keep building around in that roster. Okay, 17 Titans. I'm gonna have them go Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State. He's dropped in some people's mocks, and I get that. But yeah, the Titans, I still think you could use even more edge rush. You always can use more edge rush, more pass rush. Because obviously they have, why can't I think of the guy's name? It's not Simmons. Or no, it is Jeffrey Simmons, yeah. Yeah, you can always use more. So I would say at this point, just best prospect, don't reach for things, best prospect. Packers, we're going to go Kalen King, the cornerback from Penn State. It says they need a safety. I honestly think they could maybe move one of the guys to safety and just they need more secondary help. They really do because the Lions were able to gash them a lot because I think they're kind of inexperienced in their secondary. I know they have Jair Alexander, but other than that, I don't think they have a whole lot of bright spots. The Commanders, I'm not high on Sam Howell. Everybody else is. I'm not. If I'm here, I take Riley Leonard, big quarterback from Duke. I take him. I think that's one of their most pressing needs because I think Sam Howell just makes too many mistakes. I would take Riley Leonard. 20, Pittsburgh. I want a guy that wears black and yellow anyway. I'm going to take the cornerback, Cooper DeJean. Look, they have Patrick Peterson starting right now, and Patrick Peterson is pretty old, and he can't start forever. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, you got Joey Porter Jr. Get that other cornerback that can make it so Patrick Peterson can maybe be more of a spot guy, or maybe move him to safety, be more of just the veteran presence in the locker room, or just let him go. But Cooper DeJean, the white corner, I like that with the Steelers. I like that fit. And like I said, I'm just picturing him wearing those colors since he already wears them anyway. The Chargers at 21. Who do I like here? Who do I like here for the Chargers? Comment below who you guys suggest. Who's jumping out to me? Who's jumping out to me? No. Oh, I know who I like. Yeah. Because the Chargers, I think they could use more help on the D-line. I'm going to go Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle from Michigan. Because, obviously they got Bosa and they got Mack, but I think they do have trouble getting pressure up front, stopping people's run, and just getting pressure like in the quarterback's face, like right in his grill. They're always like coming from the edge. So I think Chris Jenkins, the D tackle from Michigan, I think that'd be a good fit. Because their offense really, I don't think needs much more help for the Chargers. The Jaguars, so it says they need guard, center. They need help on the offensive line. And so for that reason, they may like their tackles, but I think it's never going to hurt to get a better tackle than you already have and then just move one of the guys you were playing at tackle, move him over. I'm going to go Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona for the Jaguars. Give more protection for Trevor Lawrence. Give him more time to get the ball to his playmakers. 23 with Tampa. Who am I going to go with here? What do you guys think? Who should we go with Tampa? Suggestions? Anybody? I made notes, so I'd have to look and see who I actually had them taking. Let me look who I had them taking. I took a picture of it. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to do this. We're going to get a replacement because if Mike Evans leaves, we need a replacement. So let's go Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State. He's pretty much steady as a steady goes. I like him. You can pair him with Chris Godwin. And if Mike Evans does stay, he's a good slot receiver, so I like that. More weapons for Baker. Let's capitalize on the roster that we have now. And that way, like I said, if you find another quarterback maybe next year or whatever, you have a filled-out, stacked roster around him. 24 with the Lions. Like I said, I'm gonna use my notes because I'm at the point where I'm trying to remember everyone. Okay. With the Lions, you got a few different options here. Overall, I think their roster is really solid. My thing is, you have your backups, Teddy Bridgewater, who's not the guy, and I don't even think could fill in properly. He's more of just like a guy that knows how to play quarterback from a mental standpoint, but I don't think he's a good quarterback. You got Hendon Hooker, who's nursing his injury, and I like Hendon Hooker a lot, but I still don't know if he's the guy. I would go Bo Nix, good value there, quarterback. You got some Jared Goff insurance. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out, or if Jared Goff says, hey, I've been playing well, I want more money, you go, hey, we have some other quarterbacks in the room, maybe not. But Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. Give Bo Nix a guy to learn from, and Jared Goff. And yeah, like if Jared Goff, he's getting older. If he turns out to have an injury or not the guy, you have a solid backup that could go in right now. Because that's the thing. Teddy can't go in right now, and Hendon Hooker's coming off an injury, and we don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. Seattle, I would go. So Leonard Taylor, the D tackle, because that's even though the D tackles for Seattle played pretty good tonight, I still would like to see more from them as far as being able to stop the run. So, yeah, and ask Seattle fans, they'd probably tell you the same thing. So, Leonard Taylor, the big D tackle from Miami, I see that as the pick. All right, then we got the Dolphins themselves. So, it says they need a tight end and an offensive lineman. In this position, I think help your skill. What are you good at? Speed. Get somebody that's fast. Let me find him. So, look, they have Tyreek and they have Jalen Waddle. Who's their number 3 receiver? Braxton Berrios? He's fine. I think we can do better. Jalen McMillan, the wide receiver from Washington. Get that guy in there. Speedster. Perfect. Slot guy. I love that. Okay. Ravens. I think we're going to go wide receiver here as well. Xavier Worthy, wide receiver of Texas. Really, I like that guy a lot. Another weapon for Lamar. OBJ hasn't been healthy like at all this year, so you're not even counting him. Zay Flowers looks good, but Rashad Bateman and whoever else they got, those guys are just guys. So get Xavier Worthy, another wide receiver for Lamar. I like that. Help out that offense even more. For the Cowboys, I think I know where we're going here. You already have one pass rusher from Penn State. Let's get another one. Let's get Chop Robinson in there. So, if Micah Parsons gets hurt, or I'm trying to remember who the Cowboys' other edge rusher is because you never hear his name. So I would go Chop Robinson, get you another edge rusher. All right, the Bills. So at this point, you're basically just taking who you like. I mean, Von Miller, he's coming off his injury. He should be coming back soon, hopefully. But you're having to bank on him to play. I still think their edge rushers could use some help. So I would take JT Tuimoloau. I think that's how you say his name. Edge rusher from Ohio State. I take him. Chiefs at 30, taking Braylon Trice, edge rusher from Washington. Look, I like George Karlaftis, and on the other end, I think we have Felix, and I don't even know who's playing as our other edge rusher. Chris Jones lines up there sometimes, but go Braylon Trice. I like that. And then 49ers, we're going to go other edge rusher because, we know they have Nick Bosa. Let's get another Ohio State edge rusher. Let's get Jack Sawyer in there. Edge rusher from Ohio State. And then lastly, with the Eagles, we're gonna once again, what's our strength? Let's make it even better. Mason Smith, the defensive tackle from LSU. You already have Jalen Carter. You already have Jordan Davis. You know what? Let's get another one. Have the best D tackle room ever in the NFL. And he's a good prospect. And even if he doesn't work, I don't say he doesn't want to work out, but you could still trade that pick for someone that would want a guy of that caliber, and get more draft picks. So that's it for my mock. That's it for me recording. What are we at time-wise? An hour and a half. Yeah. Thanks for sticking with me. Like I said, enjoy the picks. But I enjoy doing these, and I'll do them every week. But yeah, that's it for now. Have a good one, guys. See you on the next one.